Hello everybody, I'm BP Nuzlocke, and today I'll be attempting a Pokemon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke using only shiny Pokemon. Gen 4 gave birth to some of today's most iconic Pokemon, such as Lucario, Roserade, and Garchomp, and with insane designs comes some insane shinies. Well, I mean, for the most part anyway. But of course, just a run of only shiny Pokemon would be too easy and doesn't cause enough heartache, so these are the rules we'll be using in today's run. Rule 1, Permadeath. If a Pokemon faints in battle, it's considered dead and will be released. Yes, even if it's that adorable shiny Shinx we all love. Rule 2, we can only catch the first shiny Pokemon we encounter on each route, so if we run into a shiny Bidoof before a shiny Shinx, we have to cut our losses and take the Bidoof. Dupe's Claws will be used, meaning that if you have the encountered shiny, we can then reroll the encounter. Rule number 3, we must nickname our Pokemon. Rule number 4, no items in battle, so no using that cheeky potion to save our 1 HP Shinx, no sir. But we can use held items. Rule number 5, no overleveling past the next gym leader / Elite 4, so no Roserade before the first gym. Rule 6, we must play on set mode. And for today's run, I'll be naming my Pokemon after YouTube comments. So if you want your name to be featured in the next run, all you have to do is answer this question. Who is your favorite Gen 4 shiny? Mine is either Roserade or Drifblim. I don't know, I guess I just really like those gold shinies. And if you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. We get some insane shinies in this run, so make sure to watch till the end. But enough talking about it, let's just get into it. Now, for the Gen 4 starters, I like all 3 equally. I think Chimchar is definitely the most broken, but other than that, I'm not fussed, so I decided to select them randomly. And after a couple of hours, we find ourselves a shiny Piplup. And Empoleon is a Pokemon I don't get to use much, so yep, I just reset over a shiny. God damn it. Technically, this is the first attempt failed. It's annoying, but we'll bounce back, and sure enough, after a couple of days, I find my second shiny starter. Why am I like this? That's 2 runs failed because I was an idiot. Eventually we find another shiny Turtwig, and I don't reset over this one. And after tackling our rival into the ground, we finally get given Pokeballs and name our starter Pazu. Now I always struggle in this second rival fight, so I decide to start my next hunt. And after about 20 minutes we find Banana the shiny Shinx. Unfortunately it isn't Intimidate, but hey, we'll take what we can get. Also, Banana is such a perfect name for this shiny. Now, with 2 shinies, we can take on the second rival fight. His Starly hits Banana with a bunch of growls, lowering our attack stat, so I switch it to Pazu to reset Banana. We miss our first tackle, so I switch again into yet another growl. Banana's tackle thankfully crits and gets rid of his Starly. Next is Chimchar, and since our attack is lowered, I use 2 Leers before switching into Pazu, and now with his Chimchar -2 defense, Pazu finishes the fight with 3 tackles. Once at the level cap, it's time to take on Rourke. Now, with Turtwig this should be an easy fight, but Gyarados still terrifies me. Headbutt does insane damage and has the chance to flinch. So to make this a guaranteed win, I decide to use the power of an introvert and set up some withdrawals. We set up our withdrawals on his Geodude, and then we use Absorb to get all of our HP back. After Geodude, he brings in Onix, who goes for Screech, bringing our +3 only down to +1. Our Razor Leaf brings Onix into potion range, so I use Withdraw and then take it out with a second Razor Leaf. Now it's time for his big bad Gyarados. His Headbutt does little damage thanks to our boosts, and Gyarados falls to a crit Razor Leaf, earning us our first badge. On our way to the next city, Banana evolves. We then catch Supersonic the shiny Bidoof for HMs, and after beating up some galactic thugs, Pazu evolves, and with that, it's time to take on Mars and her Perugly. Now this thing hits like multiple trucks, so I decided that our best bet is setting up Curse, but her Zubat has Toxic, making it just a little bit awkward. But I did pick up a Petra Berry on the way here, so with that equipped it should be fine. So let's see how we go. As soon as the battle starts, Zubat's Bite crits and flinches us. But after that we freely set up 3 Curses, and our next tackle, even at +3, barely misses the KO, and a second tackle is more than enough to take it out. Next is her Freight Train Perugly, and her Fake Out does a measly 4 damage, and 2 Razor Leafs are enough to take it out. With Team Galactic out of the way, we can get our next encounter, Houston the Shiny Drifloon. With Houston on the team, it's time to take on Gardenia. She starts off with Turtwig as we lead with Houston. I then set up 3 stockpiles and a Focus Energy, increasing our defense and crit chance. She sets up a Sunny Day as Gust does around 50%. I go for another stockpile just to stall out some Sun Turds, and then finish off Turtwig with another Gust. Next is Cherum, who tanks Gust really well due to its Flower Gift ability. She hits us with a Leech Seed as the sun runs out and Cherum returns to its normal form. After a couple more Gusts, we take out our Cherum. Last is her Roserade, and we finally hit a crit, proccing her Citrus Berry. Then she misses her Stun Spore, which is really lucky. We then hit a second crit, but it's not enough to take her out, and we do get hit by the Stun Spore this time. Thanks to the Leech Seed, Houston is too low, so it's time to switch. I bring in Banana, who thanks to our Oran Berry, lives 2 Magical Leaves on just 2 HP, and with the Bite, finishes out the battle. Whew, that was pretty clutch. The hard battles aren't over yet, as it's time to save this building from Mars and her Stunk Tank. We can't set up this time due to Zubat having Wing Attack, and Stunk Tank's main move, a Night Slash, which has an insane crit rate, so our defense boosts aren't going to be much help. So I decided to put Banana's ability to work. Since both of Jupiter's Pokemon are female, Banana does extra damage, so with that, Banana one-shots her Zubat, and next is her Stunk Tank. She proves her villainy by using Smokescreen, but we hit our Spark anyway and do just under 50%. She hits a Night Slash and procs our Oran Berry as we hit our second Spark, and hit the Paralysis as well. Now with our lowered speed, Banana moves first and ends it with another Spark. Beating Mars gives us access to the Explorer Kit and our next Shiny Hunt. In Pokemon Platinum, if your trainer ID is an even number, you have the chance to find Sheldon, and if it ends in an odd number, you can find Cranidos. And since our number ends in 9, we can use the Explorer Kit to find the Skull Fossil, and thus revive ourselves a bid the Shiny Cranidos. Honestly, it's such an underrated shiny. We also find a random shiny Brogzor, which is pretty neat. We name it Ladies Man 9 because, I don't know, I thought it was a pretty funny name. And once at the level cap, we could take on Fantinia. Fantinia starts with Duskull as we start with a bid. I go for Assurance and it just barely misses the KO, allowing it to set a Future Sight. And we take it out after a back and forth of damage and healing. Next is Miss Magius, and I was EV training, so I was praying that we outsped, but we don't, and Shadow Ball leaves us on 6 HP, and Insurance brings her into Citrus Berry range, bringing her back into green health. There is a high chance he uses Magical Leaf, so I switch into Pazu. Pazu then takes a Shadow Ball and retaliates with a Bite, which does insane damage and takes out Miss Magius. Horta leads off its final stance with Hypnosis, and after 2 turns, we finally wake up, and after more potion spam, Fantina finally gives in, and we win our 3rd badge. On our way to Marlene, Houston, Pazu, Banana, and a bid all evolve, and now with a completely upgraded team, I'm feeling pretty confident. Marlene starts with Meditite as I begin to set up stockpiles with Houston. Thankfully, she misses 2 Rock Tombs, allowing me to get my max stockpiles, and 1 Ominous Wind one-shots her Meditite. Next is our Machoke, who has better Rock Tomb luck, but thanks to our defense boosts, we don't take too much damage, and after 2 Ominous Winds, we leave Machoke in the red. She doesn't heal, allowing me to take it out with 1 last Ominous Wind, and last is her Lucario. A combo of Ominous Wind and Spit Up are enough to win us our 4th badge. We waste no time making our way to Crash Awake, who starts off with Gyarados, and thanks to its Intimidate ability, Banana's Spark leaves it in the red as it retaliates with a crit Waterfall, leaving us on 10 HP. Wake then heals his Gyarados, so Spark brings it back into the red again, but this time we get the Paralysis. I'm not too sure what to do, so I just switch into Pazu, as Wake switches into Quagsire. I set up a Leech Seed and then take it out with a Razor Leaf. He brings in his 8th Floatzel, so I switch into our tank, Ladies Man, who eats an Ice Fang and a Crunch as we land a Confuse Ray. He thankfully hits himself and we take out Floatzel with a crit Extrasensory. He then brings in his low Gyarados and heals it with a potion. We get lucky again though, as a Confuse Ray causes him to hit himself, and after an Extrasensory he gets fully paralyzed. And after that we end the fight in the next turn. We got pretty lucky there, and Ladies Man ended up carrying us pretty hard. We make our way to Celestic Town, where we run into Cyrus, who is pretty keen on battling us. He starts with Sneasel as I start with Banana. I go for a Spark, but Ice Punch does surprising damage, so I decide to switch into Ladies Man, who gets frozen by the first Ice Punch. I then make the biggest blunder in my Nuzlocke career as I'm trying to spam X-Trans Sensory, which is a Psychic type move, versus Sneasel, which is a Dark type Pokemon. So even though we do thaw out, it was all for nothing and I'm forced to switch in Banana. So I just never switched, would be in a much better position. We are left with 23 HP as Spark gets yet another paralysis, allowing me to outspeed and finish off the Sneasel. Next is Golbat, who lives a Spark at around 10 HP, and then Banana lives the Poison Fang on just 2 HP, but then gets poisoned, resulting in our first death in this run. I bring in Houston, who revenge kills Golbat with an ominous wind, bringing Cyrus down to his last Pokemon Murkrow. I switch into a Bed, who doesn't take the Feint attack as well as I thought he would, so after a takedown I switch back into Houston, who ends this battle with a Fly. It's pretty sad losing Banana as it was one of my favourite shinies, but since she didn't have Intimidate, she was slowly getting less useful. With our new Surf HM, we find Tech the Floatzel, who has an adamant nature which is pretty awesome. And using a hard scale, we teach Tech Ice Fang, as I don't think we'll win this next rival fight without it. Pearl starts off with his Staraptor as I start off with Houston. I get my defenses up with Stockpile as he hits 2 Aerial Aces and sets up a double team. I then use Shockwave since it can't miss as he sets up another futile double team. One more Shockwave takes it out and then in comes his Floatzel, which also falls to 2 Shockwaves. Next is his Heracross, but Fly makes quick work of that. Infernape comes in and lives a Fly, but thanks to Stockpile, it does little damage in return, and one more Fly takes it out. And his last Pokemon, Roserade, also falls to a single Fly, giving us a clear road to Byron. Like father, like son, as Pazu is enough just to solo Byron's team. He starts off with Magneton, which lowers our special defense by 2 as we set up a curse. Flash Cannon then procs Pazu's Citrus Berry as our Earthquake takes out Magneton. Next is Steelix, who hits us with a Flash Cannon, but 2 Earthquakes take it out quickly. Next is Bastiodon, which falls to a single Earthquake. With Byron out of the way, we head to Iron Island. Here in Iron Island, we can start our next hunt, Riolu. Now for this hunt, you have to beat the 2 Galactic Grunts with the full party, since the egg being shiny or not is determined when Riley actually gives you the egg, and you can't refuse it, but he won't give you the egg if your party's full, thus letting you reset when you come back with 5 team members. And after an hour or 2, we hatch Butters the shiny Riolu. After running around enough, Butters evolves into Lucario, and after taking out the Galactic Trash, we head to Snow Point City. But on the way, I make a stupid mistake and I run into this trainer, and since I was watching YouTube, I wasn't really paying attention, and Electabuzz kills Tech with a Thunderbolt. That's very annoying, but we make it to Snow Point without any more deaths. Since we did lose Tech and Pazu is over leveled, I decide to go hunting again, where I find Lay the shiny Snova and Oodles the shiny Remoraid. After quickly evolving our new friends, it's time to take on Candace. Candace starts with Sneasel as we start with Butters, and I start setting up Sword Stance. Aerial Aces are doing too much damage, so I'm pretty comfortable setting up here. After 2 more Sword Stances, I use Quick Attack, but it barely misses the KO, which was a bit silly since Close Combat was the safer play. She uses a Hyper Potion, but 2 more Quick Attacks finish off her Sneasel. She brings in Polo Swine, who falls to 1 Close Combat, and then next is a Bomber Snow, who also gets one-shot by Close Combat. Since we are now like -2 special defense, I switch Butters out into Lady Man to deal with Frostlass. She sets up a double team as we hit a Gyro Ball, which does pretty good damage but procs her Citrus Berry. Which means our next Gyro Ball leaves Frostlass at red HP, meaning Candace will now use a full restore. This also allows her to use another double team, but luckily Ladies Man is a baller and he hits 2 more Gyro Balls and earns us our 7th badge. We make quick work of Cyrus in the HQ and free the Lake Guardians. We make our way to Spear Pillar, where Pearl and I have to team up to get through Mars and Jupiter. They both start with Bronzor, so we switch our bet out for Houston. I start to use Stockpile so I can stall the Reflect and Light Screen. Even Pearl is using Stockpile, which is, it's kinda cute, not gonna lie. We finally stall out the screens, but I killed the wrong Bronzor, meaning it resets up Light Screen. And what's worse, it was Jupiter's Bronzor, meaning Stun Tank comes out, which is probably the worst case scenario at the moment, as Houston isn't too excited about getting smoked by a Night Slash. I go for a Fly and it does very little damage. Pearl's Munchlax dies while we are in the air, so he brings that Infernape, and Close Combat procs her Citrus Berry, but Fly just barely misses the KO, and we do in fact get smoked by a crit Night Slash, resulting in our 3rd death. Butters comes in and revenges Houston with a Quick Attack, and Golbat replaces the Skunk Tank. So I switch into Arbed and Infernape straight kamikazes and takes out itself and Bronzor, bringing in Perugly and Floatzel. Abid one-shots Golbat and Floatzel solos Perugly as Abid goes to have a nice little nap. Abid finally wakes up to one-shot the other Golbat, and then after this we quickly grind and start to chase after Cyrus. We catch up to Cyrus and he's a bit grumpy again, so he's ready to fight. We start with Oodles and we one-shot his Houndoom with Surf. Next is Gyarados, so I switch in Delay. We take a bunch of damage from Ice Fang and retaliate with the Blizzard. He then switches into Weavile and Blizzard does a decent chunk, but I'm pretty sure Ice Punch knocks us out, so I switch into Butters as he X-scissors. We tank an Ice Punch and take out his Weavile with a close combat. He brings in Gyarados, so I switch into Lay to tank an Earthquake, and Lay lives on 1 HP from an Ice Fang and takes out Gyarados with Blizzard. He brings in Crobat, so I decide to sack Lay and go for Ice Shard with a crit, but it's not enough to keep herself alive and she falls to a Cross Poison. So I switch into Oodles, who finishes off Crobat with Ice Beam. He then brings in his Honchkrow, who brings Oodles to 15 HP, proccing our Citrus Berry. And Oodles' Ice Beam brings it into the red. I risk going for a second Ice Beam, predicting Cyrus to heal, which works out. So now we are back to square one. Now it's time for Lay to carry us from the grave. Since Hail is doing set damage, we just need to switch around and stall out Honchkrow's HP. Switching into Ladies Man and then switching into a bed, and Honchkrow finally succumbs to the hail and we beat Cyrus for the last time, but not without a sacrifice. And well, just for the fun of it, I decide to hunt for the shiny Giratina. It is on the thumbnail after all, and after a while we find it and we just yeet our Master Ball, and that's done. Now it's not clickbait. And even though we've caught the ultimate Pokemon, our journey isn't over yet and it's time to take our last steps forward. Now with a new level cap, we add Pazu back to the team and he makes a strong comeback by one-shotting Jolteon with an Earthquake. He brings in a Luxray and Earthquake barely misses the KO, but in saying that, Ice Fang also barely misses the KO, but he also gets the freeze. Pazu, if you're not careful, you end up back in the box again. I'm forced to switch into a bid. I go for Rock Climb, which doesn't do much damage, and Thunderfang is looking like a 3-hit KO. And another Rock Climb barely misses the KO again. And well, I guess Thunderfang was a low roll because the next one takes out a bid. So I bring in Butters and set up a Swords Dance and tank a Fire Fang. We take out the stubborn Luxray with a quick attack, and then next is Raichu, who also falls to a close combat. Bringing out his last Pokemon, Electivire, and it falls to a close combat, ending our last gym battle for the run. Before the Elite Four, we need to replace 2 team members, because I probably shouldn't use Crispy the Giratina. I catch Blake the Houndour and Rapid the Rotom. We evolve Blake, and by using a super cool hacking skills, we get access to the secret room, where I change Rotom into a washing machine. And in this gen, Rotom is an electric ghost type no matter the form, which I constantly forget, but with our new team, it's time for the endgame, baby. Before we run headfirst into Elite Four, we've got to take on Pearl for the last time. He starts off with Staraptor as we start with Rapid. I go for a sub so we can tank a couple more hits. And then we take out his Staraptor on the next turn with the Discharge. He brings in Floatzel, who breaks our sub with the Crunch as we one-shot it back with another Discharge. Next is his Roserade, so I bring in Blake, who one-shots it with a Flamethrower. He brings in Heracross and it suffers the same fate, a Flamethrower, and he's forced to send out Infernape, so we switch into Pazu because it has the Occa Berry, meaning it can tank a Flamethrower, and an Earthquake takes out Infernape in return. He sends in Snorlax as I switch into Rapid, who isn't affected by Body Slam, and I'm not too sure of its moveset, so I quickly look it up, and it has Crunch, so I switch into Butters, and close combat ends the battle. The first Elite Four member, Aaron, is a bit of a joke, as Blake just runs through his team, because well, yeah, Mega falls to a Flamethrower, Heracross falls to a Flamethrower, his Vespiquen falls to a Flamethrower, Scizor like extremely falls to a Flamethrower. Last is his Drapion. He actually lives one Flamethrower, but only the one, and it falls to a second, ending our first Elite Four fight. Next is Bertha, who starts with Wishcash, and I start with Pazu, and since it can't do much damage to us, I start to set up some curses. After 3 curses, I take out Wishcash with a Razor Leaf. Thanks to the defense boosts, Gliscor does very little damage, and Pazu takes it out with 2 Razor Leafs. Even with the speed drops, Pazu still outspeeds both Golem and Rhyperior, and Pazu one-shots both of them. Last is her Hippowdon, and it lives on legit 1 HP as it puts Pazu to sleep with Yawn. So I switch into Butter, and Extreme Speed ends the battle. Next is Flynn, and it's Oodle's time to shine. Kind of. He starts with Houndoom, who falls to a single surf, and thanks to our electric resist berry, we tank a Thunder Punch from his Infernape. And we returned in kindness with a one-shot surf. Next is Rapidash, who hops up in the air, so I use this chance to switch into Ladyman, but Rapidash misses anyway as we hit a Hypnosis. I then misclick, making me use Confuse Ray twice, wasting sleep turns. We bring Rapidash into the red with 2 extra Incensories, forcing him to use a full restore, healing his sleep, but thanks to our Con Berry and our Heat Proof ability, we tank Flare Blitz pretty well, and Rapidash lives on 1 HP, but after another Flare Blitz, it dies to recoil. He brings in Flareon, so I switch into Blake to tank an Overheat, and then into Rapid, who misses 2 Hydro Pumps, taking more damage than needed, but eventually we hit one and bring it into the yellow. I use just Discharge as Flint heals, and we get a para outspeeding Flareon in the next turn, and we take it out with another Hydro Pump. He brings in Magmortar, so I switch into Pazu because I thought it was going to use Thunderbolt, but I forget Rapid isn't part Water type in this game, so he goes for Flamethrower, and I'm forced to switch into Blake to tank a Flamethrower so he can pivot out into Butters when he goes for a Thunderbolt. And now that Butters is in the field, a close combat wins us the 3rd battle. Last up is Lucian. I lead with Blake and set up 3 nasty plots as Mr. Mime sets up both Reflect and Light Screen. He then hits Blake with a Thunderbolt, which actually does insane damage, so I'm forced to take it out with a Dark Pulse. He brings in Gallade, who lives the +6 Flamethrower because of Light Screen, and takes Blake out with the Stone Edge. I bring in Oodles, but the Light Screen is still too much as he almost faint to a Leaf Blade, and I do little damage in return. I switch into Pazu, and after taking 2 Psycho Cuts, we finally take out Gallade with the Razor Leaf. Next is Espeon, who I confuse and then put to sleep with Ladies Man, so I can safely switch into Butter, as we quickly set up a Swords Dance followed by an Extreme Speed, which brings Espeon into the red. This prompts Lucian to use a full restore, and then after getting nailed by another Extreme Speed, he switches out into Bronzor, but after Extreme Speed, Chip Close Combat takes it out. Next is Alakazam, who due to its paper-thin defenses, falls to an Extreme Speed. He brings his Espeon back out and heals it, but Butter hits a 4-hit Bone Club, ending the 4th fight and bringing us to the champion. It's do or die, gamers. With only 5 Pokemon, can we beat Cynthia, or will we wipe on the last battle of the run? Cynthia starts with Spiritomb, so I start with Butter and begin to set up Swords Dance. Psychic is doing pretty good damage, but I end up getting 3 dances set up, and 1 Shadow Claw one-shots her Ghostly Garden Pod. Next is our only Lucario, which we outspeed and Close Combat takes it out. She then brings in her Ace Garchomp, and I think I outspeed with my Eevees, but we don't, and Garchomp hits a Dragon Rage, ending Butter's Bloodbath. I bring in Oodles and go for Ice Beam as we dodge the Dragon Rush, but Ice Beam barely misses the KO, proccing her Citrus Berry. Garchomp then nails a Giga Impact, and a second Ice Beam takes it out. Next is her Roserade, so we switch into Ladies Man, and 2 extra Incensories take it out. She brings in Milotic, so I put it to sleep with Hypnosis, so we can safely switch into Pazu. Pazu lands the first Razor Leaf, but then we miss the second one, as Milotic wakes up and nails an Ice Beam and gets the freeze. Pazu isn't really needed for the rest of this battle, so I let him die to another Ice Beam for a safe switch. It was a good run, brother. I bring in Rapid, and because I forgot again that Rapid isn't a Water type, I try to set up a sub, and I thought we'd resist all Milotic's moves so it wouldn't be able to break it, but no. It gets broken straight away as we land a Discharge, getting our 15th million power of the run. But it doesn't matter much as another Discharge takes out Milotic anyway. Bringing Cynthia down to our last Pokemon Togekiss, but it's pretty easy from here as 2 Discharges takes it out. And with that, we've beaten Pokemon Platinum with only Shiny type Pokemon. I hope you guys did enjoy today's run. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe. This video took a long time to make. A lot of the hunts took me a lot longer than I thought. This was increased shiny odds, but even with the increased shiny odds, this took me ages. A lot of them were being stubborn. Doesn't help that I reset over starters 3 times. But anyway, I'm glad you guys enjoyed if you made it this far, and yeah, have a lovely day. And remember, Rotom isn't a Water type.